Welcome back to CPAC 2025. We are joined by Indiana's Attorney General, Todd Rokita. Thank you, sir, for joining us. How has the impact of illegal immigration in the last month with really the ICE raids and the Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Kristi Noem, also Border Czar Tom Homan, really working to reduce those limits? How has that affected the crossroads of America?
Let me just say, first of all, I really appreciate Right Side Broadcasting and what you all do. You're bringing the truth to America, and we can't be more thankful out in the Midwest to have you guys. And look, Kristi Noem and I served in Congress together. Don't know Tom as well. Certainly know President Trump. He endorsed me. I endorse him. And just let me say, it's a great time. I mean, I'm just so thankful to have a partner. A partner in the White House, a partner in Kristi and Tom to help us get after this. You know, I think if you put it into one word, it's unfairness. And It's unfair to taxpayers who are paying for police and higher crime rates and fentanyl and overcrowded hospitals. It's unfair to the taxpayers' kids who are now in school with the children of these illegals. And it's no fault of the kids for sure, but it doesn't make it any less or any more fair when the teacher is focused on these kids translating lesson plans in 30 different languages and not teaching the taxpayers' kids, right? You know, so we're having all these problems in Indiana, and I know what's going on in other states, even in the liberal states, whether they want to admit it or not. It's a huge problem, and it's just unfair in a word. And so what I'm doing as Indiana's Attorney General is using new law that the General Assembly gave me to be that partner with Tom and Kristi and President Trump to go and help ICE locate these people, to go after recalcitrant, if you can believe it. Even in Indiana, we have some recalcitrant sheriffs and police chiefs and mayors who don't want to provide assistance, who don't want to even cooperate or communicate with ICE. And so we're suing them to get right with the Lord, so to speak, because we have our own taxpayers to take care of.
And how is Attorney General Pam Bondi's office able to assist with that as well?
Well, she'll come, and she's a great friend as well. She'll come in and with the enforcement side of that in terms of the court cases and everything else, and otherwise assist with Tom and Kristi. You know, Tom and Kristi would be working with her more than us. But I will tell you, Pam Bondi is just another great one, and I know her from her time as Attorney General. She's supported me. I've always supported her. It's just a good time to have relationships and communication, professional communication, someone you can pick up the phone when you're a state guy and call. Because for the last 4 years, couldn't do that.
Right.
Couldn't do that at all. You were just ignored. So just to have some professional reciprocity, is good.
And what are some of your top goals as you serve as Attorney General for the great state of Indiana?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, healthcare costs are out of hand, and it's because we have government involved and non-market forces involved, so that's a real problem. We still have weaponization of lawfare going on, not only across the nation, but in Indiana, and it's wrong. Whether it's me or other conservatives that are being targeted because of what we say. And they couldn't get me at the ballot box. We're blessed and humbled to have the largest vote total in Indiana history.
Wow.
Next to Trump.
Right.
But for a state guy, and so they can't get me at the ballot box. So they try to get me and others with my law license or other things, and it really just has to stop. So I'm going to be loud and forceful against that, and you have to lead on these issues, and you have to fight fire with fire.
And is this mostly coming from judges or potential DAs who are going rogue?
It's really activists who've usurped the system and then baked into the process are deep. I mean, if you look at the definition of a state, deep state, you'd find the Indiana Disciplinary Commission, you'd find a lot of our court system, you'd find a lot of that right there. People on this commission, for example, that endorsed my opponent while they're investigating me, did fundraisers for my opponent. Anti-Trump guys, Indiana led the amicus brief to keep President Trump on the ballot in all 50 states.
Right.
Yeah. So the guy that took the other side of that said we were going to lose 9-0 is now investigating me.
Wow.
Because we happen to win 9-0. Donates to Liz Cheney, says he's a Republican, votes for or endorses Kamala Harris. I mean, that kind of stuff is now involved, and it's just wrong.
And how do you streamline the bureaucracy in the crossroads of America? Is it something that has come from the governor's office? Or?
So, yeah, the governor, and we have a great new Governor Braun, who is definitely interested in that. I was vice chairman of the House Budget Committee when I served in Congress, so I see exactly what they're talking about. I am all for Doge. Can't do enough. I started something called Indiana Doge, so we're working on it. We just found $500,000 of savings if this law passes that we'll get every year out of my own office, right? So you look inward first, and we had this antiquated law that we were forced to follow, and now if we get rid of that law, just that one little example, $500,000 a year. So things like that. But look. 75% of our federal government spending is on autopilot. 75%. So what Doge is touching is just a little bit of that other 25%, that other discretionary spending that Congress votes on year to year that you're supposed to pass a budget over, or if not, you have a CR. That's all in the 25% little piece of the pie. If you're really going to get at this debt, you got to get at that 75% spending, and that's, now you're talking. And again, if you act now, you don't have to affect anybody that's on or near to be on these programs. But for the next generation, those that aren't born yet, they may have to get a new deal in Social Security. Because they're living longer. They may have to get a new deal in Medicare and those kinds of things. So you have to use your political capital to have that political leadership to have the conversation with the American people, because we won't get out of debt just on Doge alone.
And how can the Republican Party lead on that? Does it have to be a state-by-state initiative, or?
It may come to that. I think that's a really good question you're bringing up. I mean, look, the nature of a legislature, not to pick on anybody, and certainly my experience in Congress was, these guys will not focus on anything until it's a crisis right in front of their face. And so it might come to the states, a convention of the states, or some mechanism like that. The states might have to come in and save the day over this.
Right, absolutely. And what is your biggest selling point, not only from your office, but being a Hoosier as well? We've seen so much outward migration from certain states to others. Even for me, I'm from Chicagoland, moved down to the southeast, so not too far away. Always loved, driving through to see family, or, enjoying vacation in the beautiful state of Indiana as well. But what is your pitch to those who might be thinking to relocate and might consider the Hoosier State as that place to be?
First of all, I've grown up there, lived there all my life. I'm from Northwest Indiana, so just outside of Chicago, in a town called Munster. Graduated from high school there. Low taxes, reasonable regulations. We're not in your day-to-day life. When I was in Congress, for example, still as Attorney General, my constituency had some core issues. Let us speak. Let us have our guns under the Constitution. We are pro-life, for sure. But otherwise, leave us alone. And that's kind of the way we look at things in Indiana. Some say Indiana's really a purple state with a voting problem. I don't think so. We're a common sense state that wants government for the core things, but then government out of the way.
Right. And that really is becoming the Trump-Vance mandate, as we saw the vice president with a very successful international trip recently. It's talking on those issues, free speech and our constitutional principles, our Bill of Rights as well, and natural law and order. Well, Todd Rokita, Indiana Attorney General, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's a privilege to have you on the network, sir. Please join us again soon.
Yeah, it'd be great to be back. And you guys do great, and I'm so honored to represent Indiana.
Thank you so much.